again, it's Quinten. I will be posting on Sundays, and today we're going to talk about educating transgender children. Now, there's a lot of different directions you can take with this topic, so I'll give my opinion, one, on why I think we should educate children on transgender people, and then also methods of how we could do so. So first of all, why should we educate children on transgender people? Because some of these children will grow up to be trans individuals. And there's no need in our time with the internet and with all that we know about the LGBT community to continue ignoring the fact that trans people exist, that, you know, all people are not born cisgender people who are going to grow up and fit into cis heteronormative society. So, because we know that there are people that are gay, because we know that there are people with varying other sexualities, because we know there are people who are MTF, FTM, non-binary, and many other gender identities, we should just start talking about it, because why torture someone by keeping that information from them until they're 14, 15, or even for some people they don't realize it until much later in life. Some people their 30s, 40s, even 50s. I've heard of people being as old as in their 60s and 70s deciding to transition because they just found out being trans is a thing. So you have that children, some of these children will grow up to be trans. And then another factor is that some of these children are going to grow up to possibly have trans friends, trans partners, trans co-workers, and, you know, we can't send our children out there, or any children out there, into the world unprepared to deal with different types of people. Just like how we teach kids about cultures when we teach them about geography, so should we also teach them about trans people, because that's a group of people that exists on the planet. You cannot avoid them. And this isn't just to perpetuate an idea of inclusivity or saying that you have to be pro-LGBT. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to at least be informed. Why be ignorant of things that are in the world? And also, discussing trans people with children would help to break down some of the issues that we have in society. For example, you cannot do better as a society until you know better. Just like how we had to start teaching that racism, prejudice, and other things were not okay to do anymore as a society, so too do we have to teach our children that trans people are people just like them that deserve to be respected. You don't have to agree with them, but also you have no right to critique and attack them on how they have chosen to live their life. So, some of the ways in which we can approach educating children is this. We can add in education on trans people when we start talking about health and sexual education. Those classes are mostly useless anyways, especially if you live in a state like mine, Texas, where the sexual education part of the course really is just abstinence, and they don't teach you about condom use, they don't really teach you anything so that you can be safe. It's all scare tactics. So with that in mind, what we should start including in these courses, since we're talking about health, and they say that mental health is a part of our health class, is to talk about trans identities and how people who are trans feel. So when they're finding out that they're transgender, for example, you know, and this isn't one size fits all, I'm just listing many things. So having dysphoria, feeling like they're born into the wrong body, feeling as if the clothes that they wear make them uncomfortable, wanting to be called by different pronouns, different names. We should just have that discussion so that then people can understand why some of their peers are uncomfortable. It's not just, oh, we're going through puberty, we're all uncomfortable together. Some of us are going through the incorrect puberty, and that is truly why we are uncomfortable. And then also just having more literature that is aimed at the education of children about transgender people. So just like how we read them books like If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, or, you know, How to Be Kind, or How to Clean Your Room, Brushing Your Teeth, how to use, I don't know, the ed endings on words. These are books that we show our children to teach them how our language works, if we speak English, how we're expected to function in society, and to give them the skills to be successful adults. And so a part of that should be educating them on trans people, because when I was younger, I live in Texas, I live in Houston, so that's closer to Mexico than a lot of the other parts of Texas. So in my school, besides just teaching us about Texas history and Texas culture, another big thing that we received was education on Mexican culture, because it's a really big part of our culture, no matter if you realize it or not. Just like we read books about that, and I'm not Hispanic, I'm not Mexican, so that's not my culture at all, but I still learned about it to appreciate it because it's in my environment. So too should we include some literature that just talks about trans people, maybe somebody's transition journey, or just about, you know, somebody having a friend that's trans. And then also, just like how we have people come in and visit and talk to children about their jobs, we should also be okay with people including the information that they are trans and how that affected their career, how that affected their path. Because people, when they say children, I'm pretty sure that most of you think I'm talking about primary, elementary school age kids, which range from the age of like 5 to 10 or 11 years old. That's not the only people that I'm talking about, because you're still considered a child, at least in this country, until you're 18. So that also includes middle school and high school age people. So there just comes a point where they're also going to be discovering who they are and trying to understand who they are. So we should give them the tools to understand who they are or to explore that. There's no reason that we can't share this information with someone who's 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. I mean, they're already exposed to a lot in a negative way, and we're actually putting them in danger because they don't receive the correct sexual education as they're growing up. So this is my opinion on how we could educate kids on transgender people, and then also just my opinion that, in fact, we should educate them on transgender people.